What is the dumbest idea you have ever had that actually worked? So it was my mom's birthday, we're barbecuing and we got her to stay inside and prep food so we can decorate the front with balloons and streamers and what have you. Well, we got the whole thing done in secret as hoped. But then we realized there was no way we could get all the leftover decoration material and balloon pump inside without her noticing. Now there are two ways into our house, the back door that leads into the garage and then into the kitchen where Mom was. And the front door which is visible from the kitchen sink. So, I told my brother I would go in from the back door and distract her while he brought the stuff in through the front. And down the hall past the kitchen. Once I got in the kitchen it had occurred to me that I had no plan of attack, so I legit just said, "Hey mom, look at this dance I made," and started like swaying and bopping up and down and doing jazz hands and going la 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 la. Mind you, I'm like 17 years old in this scenario. So she's just watching me, and when bro comes in and is sneaking through the hall behind her with all the stuff. I keep telling her, "Wait, it's about to get good," and she kept watching in confusion. The second he was in the clear, I stopped and said, "Okay, that's it," and that was that. We succeeded. I don't know why, but I'm crying laughing at this. In my freshman year of college, my grades were really not great. And my parents were really strict about getting good grades. When my dad asked to see my grades, I panicked and did the inspect command on the computer, where you can change typefaces on the screen to read different words and letters. I changed all of my shizzy grades to good grades. My dad was so happy that I did good my first year of school. He asked me to print my results. I did, and turns out he had to send them to our car insurance company for a good student discount. Ultimately, I committed insurance fraud by accident. But I got the discount. Life hack: commit insurance fraud. Wearing a motorcycle helmet while snowblowing. I did it because I missed riding. It kept my face warm, and when snow would fly back at me the visor would protect me. OMG, this has to be the stupidest looking activity. But so effective. Snowblower extreme. When I was younger I got called into HR because I drew a very detailed picture of a penis. It was really good. The HR meeting happened like a week after I drew it, and my only defense was, "I don't recall doing that." "Do you happen to have the picture? It might jog my memory." They didn't have it, of course, because I had it. And because I didn't confess, they couldn't do shiz. Investigation results inconclusive. Have a nice day. "But do you still have it?" "No, but I can give more detail. It was wearing a Santa cap and the jizz was his beard. It was around Christmas time. Our power was out due to a storm. I had a camp stove to use for boiling water to make a coffee pour through. But I couldn't use my electric grinder for the coffee beans. I tried fashioning a mortar and pestle, but it was taking too long. So, I put the coffee beans in a couple of Ziploc bags. Placed the bag right behind a car tire. Then ran over it back and forth a couple of times to crush the beans. Worked like a charm. Calm down there, Prometheus. A storm broke a limb on a tree hanging over my house in my backyard. But it was still hanging on by a few splinters. I didn't want it to fall. And it wasn't in a place where I could use my ladder to get to it. So I found some rope. Tied a brick to it. Threw the brick and rope over the limb. Made a crude rope swing. And swung and pulled at the branch until it finished breaking. It wasn't until I was using the chainsaw to cut it up that I realized how many times during my stupid idea I could have easily hurt or even killed myself. It's funny when the part of the plan that involves a chainsaw ends up being the least dangerous. A A friend and I once snuck 15 people into a Warped Tour by giving them some bracelets from a party supply store and clipboards full of paper. Walked up to the side gate and said we were with Rock the Vote. The security guard waved us right in. I don't know why, but this one made me laugh the most. It's stupid. And it takes guts. Guts is enough. Security never has the complete list of everyone who's supposed to be able to get on the grounds for the show. If you show up wearing a polo or holding a clipboard or some equipment, it's really easy to BS your way in. Source: worked security for several music festivals and concerts. There was always someone they forgot to tell us about, like the lighting subcontractors or something, and we didn't want to hold things up, so we just always waved them in. Some dude with a clipboard isn't going to cause trouble anyway. I forgot to bring a resume to a job interview. But I had an index card in my bag. I cut the index card in half and wrote my name, my contact info, and creative problem solver in my best handwriting, and gave a copy of my business card to both the interviewers. I got the job. I mean, you weren't lying. Back in high school, I stopped by one of my teacher's rooms after class to ask him some questions about our homework. When I walked in, I noticed he was grading some of our tests. Of note, all of his tests were made up of multiple choice, true, false, or matching, and all of the answers were bubbled in. What I noticed was that instead of using an answer key to grade, he was just placing a stencil over the paper with the correct bubble punched out. The stencil wasn't transparent, so all it showed was whether we bubbled in the right answer or not. Flash forward to our next test, and I'm stuck on a T, F question. Knowing how he graded, I figured I'd bubble in both T and F. And if he caught it, it would be easy enough to claim it was an accident. Well, he didn't catch it, and I used that trick the rest of the year for a little extra boost on all of his tests. You just scared me, because that's exactly how the one food handler certification test I took was graded. Wow. My AP USH teacher graded like this. Coulda used this 10 years ago lol. Not my idea but my mom's. I dropped one of my earrings and couldn't find it, so she threw my other earring knots the floor and it happened to land next to the first one. Brother. Go Find Your Brother, Adventures of Tom Sawyer. That's not dumb. Your mom is clearly just a witch. I'm stuck on a cliff. But if I jump at a really sharp angle at that gravel field, I could just slide down there and be fine. Just like in TV. Every time I think about this, I am amazed I'm not either flattened by a rock or impact against something. Childhood really is just the tutorial level sometimes. Childhood is just a game in attempting death in any way possible. Put Jesus in as Wi-Fi password in church. It worked. Huh. Jesus really is the answer. In college I was taking a class that required me to purchase an online textbook and workbook that was registered under your name. Basically ensuring that each student would have to buy a new online copy each semester instead of buying used textbooks. I had a friend who took this class a semester before me, so we came up with the idea to message customer service and explain that I had recently gotten married, so my last name had changed and I legally changed my first name from my friend's first name to my first name, and I would need them to change it in the system. It totally worked, and the rep even congratulated me on my marriage. I think it's nearly criminal to enforce students to buy new books instead of used ones. Especially when it's the professor's own textbook. I've never had a professor who wrote the textbook. But for one class another professor had written the textbook. First day of class the writing professor showed up and passed around a flash drive with his book on it. Real estate told me I had to have the carpets professionally cleaned, wasn't in the contract, or I'd lose my $800 bond. I did some research and found out I could become an accredited carpet cleaner as there are no official licensing boards in my state. So, I did what any sane person would do. I paid the $85. Did the online course and got my certificate. Registered a business name, ABN, etc. All free. Handed the property management a copy of my accreditation and an invoice for services. I became a professional carpet cleaner and launched a vacate cleaning business that is still going 6 months later. This is a great story for our malicious compliance. Exactly what I was thinking. I'd love to see a malicious compliance thread of malicious compliance moments that turned into businesses. I like this one. It's frick you ingenuity. I was laughing for weeks telling people I launched a business out of spite. If you can't beat them, do exactly what they say. Great. This is now my highest rated comment. I dunno why I love this phrase so much, thank you. This idea could have easily gotten me fired if it went wrong. I was working as art director at an animation studio, making videos for clients. One client was especially pesky about the use of yellow in the background. They wanted it to be that of their logo, which was this horrible neon piss yellow. We advised against it, but after numerous calls we had to cave and gave a version with that color. They hated it, and asked for a change. What followed were 12 versions with numerous calls in between tweaking the color over and over. Eventually I got tired of it and just sent the original version again. I didn't even bother to rename the file. The client said, "This looks exactly the way I wanted. Thank you." How that ever went right I still have no idea. I used to work in real estate advertising. And those type of folks are the worst. What do you want? I don't know. But it ain't that. Are you fucking serious, RN? No. This is worse. What do you want? Well, see. I have this very specific idea that you and absolutely everyone knows will look like shiz, but I need to see it in person so I can ask you why you made my idea look like shiz. Lovely.